Get ready to enter the Webb Zone. G'day, welcome to the first episode of the Webb Zone, the zone of no political spin or no political bias, where we show you what Canberra is really doing to you, Australia. Now, the first episode, we'll be looking at the carbon tax. Yes, that filthy, dirty tax that no one wants. You've probably heard a lot about it, but we at the Webb Zone are going to show you what it really is and what it's really going to do to you. Firstly, we're going to start off with the name of the carbon tax. Now, I feel this is a very silly point of the tax. First of all, it's the carbon tax. Now, carbon is interesting. It's the element, 12th on the periodic table, and at 25 degrees, well, room temperature, it's solid. Now, the whole point of this tax, I think, that the Greens and Labor are trying to do, is to tackle climate change with the greenhouse gases. Now, you see here, carbon isn't a gas, it's a solid, and it's used in pencils and diamonds. Now, why is she tackling the pencil and diamond industry? I can understand why she wants to tackle the diamond industry. A lot of money there, a lot of revenue-raising material there for a budget. Do not quote me that I would support a mining tax. They're the worst type of tax, along with the carbon tax. But anyway, why would she be tackling the pencil industry? It's a bit funny. That's the biggest producer, I'd imagine, of carbon. Lots of pencils come out every day. That's pure carbon right there. The stockholders of the pencil industry must be shaking in their boots at the moment. The government just wants to tax them for everything they want. $23 a tonne, that's a fair few pencils. Like, the pencil industry at the moment must be struggling already with the pens, but now with this tax, yeah, it's not too good. You can see that I'm pulling the piss out of a name because it's stupid to name a tax after something it's not. Like, carbon, really going to affect the atmosphere, isn't it, Miss Gillard and Bob Brown? What the Greens and Labor show here is no idea of science behind their tax. They've got to learn something, because if you knew anything about climate change and the greenhouse effect, you'd know that water vapour is actually the highest greenhouse gas in the atmosphere. So really, shouldn't there be a water vapour tax if you're trying to tackle climate change? And is it human anyway? We're already jumping into this tax where we've only got like a few years study of this climate change sort of atmosphere. It's only come up in the 80s about the environment and all this stuff. Should we be jumping into these taxes? Because I can guarantee you there's a lot of natural things like volcanoes and etc. and methane leaking from the ocean, which is, well, methane's another gas. Did anyone think of that? No, probably not. And farms, they produce methane. Cows produce methane. They're not getting taxed. Well, so there's this tax. The name, it's silly. Like, can we really trust politicians for a tax that they don't even understand the concept of the name? No, oh well, we'll leave it up to you. Secondly, I'd like to talk about this tax if it goes through, which is pretty sure to tackle climate change, is, will it work? Well, of course it will not work. It's a silly idea. If I read the carbon tax pamphlet, which is being paid by taxpayer dollars, that came out to, I think, every household, the idea is we tax 500 heavy polluters in this country, if you want to call them heavy in relevance to the rest of the world in producing greenhouse gases. And the idea is if we tax these companies $25 a tonne, they're going to sit there, they're going to freak out, and what we're going to do? Oh, we're just going to change our whole production, and we're going to put up wind turbines, solar panels, geez, just stop everything. God, $23 a tonne, geez, well, we've got to stop everything. I don't think that will happen. I'll tell you what will happen. They'll go into a board of directors meeting, they'll talk about this tax, or that's the funny thing also, the police that they're going to have for this carbon tax when the companies do not pay their tax. That will be funny, we'll talk about that later. But, the shareholders will be there, it's like, what are we going to do? So we need more money to build these wind turbines, these solar panels. Oh, I've got an idea, one shareholder might say. How about we just put the cost on to normal people, the everyday Australian that uses our products, and we're done. Oh yeah, $23 a tonne, yeah, we'll just put it on to the consumer. Smart thinking, Miss Gillard. So now it's going to affect us more, and probably now the companies are going to go, oh, we can just jack up the prices a bit more, and we'll use the carbon tax to cover. It's a bit silly if you ask me. Will it work? No, it will not work. And if it did work in this fantasy world, if it did work, it would be the case of We produce 1% of the world's CO2 emissions, where China produces 21-ish%, and I think America produces about 19%. So we've got 500 of our companies paying this heavy tax, which will be put onto the everyday Australian, and we've got countries like China and the US, no offence to your emissions, but it will be like spitting on a bushfire. Not any effect. The spit will dry up before it gets there. It's useless, and if it did work, it wouldn't work. It's just a waste of time. Now here's the juicy part of the tax that I want to pull apart, for its communist socialist reform. Now everyone's getting compensated, everyone's getting taxed, it's very confusing. But as I see it, as in, the Greens are left, right? Yeah, we all know that. Labor's right, yeah, well, they're right, well, they're kind of right, but they're not right up here, I don't think. But, yeah, not being biased or anything. But it's merging everyone together. The rich people, in inverted commas, are getting taxed, you know, $150,000 a year, 4 kids, yeah, really rich in Australia. And then you've got the poor, which they're, well, it's not really poor in Australia, just kind of lower, is getting heavily compensated. So we're all getting shuffled into this margin of, I imagine, around $100,000 or $80,000. We're all getting shuffled in there. Sounding very socialist communist, if you ask me. If we're all earning the same amount of cash, people have worked hard, say, to get those jobs where they get paid this much, and now they're getting taxed to push down to the people down there that haven't worked so hard, maybe, to not as get that sort of cash. It's sounding very socialist and very kind of communist, if you ask me. Like the Greens, they want to put everyone into this little funnel of just social welfare or something or other, and it's going to unbalance the economy. It's just going to go haywire. I can imagine it, and it's just not going to work in the Australian economy. You need not huge social division in classes, but you need it. You need the difference in classes. You need the different pay of people. And this is the question I ask now. If Labor was so quickly pushed into this tax because the Greens have got one member in Parliament, wants to say that we start, the government will get bigger and bigger and bigger, and we won't own houses, we won't own cars, it'll be all part of the state. We'll go to this little communist Australian society. That's my view on the carbon tax and what it's really for. I believe Canberra knows it will not work. But I also believe that the aim is to try and bring Australia more socialist, more in together, and I do not like the idea. I'm not a big fan of those socialist regimes, as in they don't work. I believe in the free market and capitalism, nationalism. I believe that will work in Australia, which it has, I believe, for the past 100 years. So I think that is about it that we can unreveal for the carbon tax. I hope you now understand what it kind of is really for. See that it is actually a socialist sort of reform and that it will not work. And that just all this, I believe, buying out of compensation is a way just to cover up that it will not work and that it's a socialist reform. And that is about it. I believe in Tony Abbott's stage of no tax collection without no re-election. I like that. I think that what needs to be done. I believe that this carbon tax needs to go to the polls in 2013 or 2012. I reckon we should have an election as soon as possible, personally. And we need to rethink this tax and get it down-packed properly. Or just get rid of it, actually. Same with the mining tax, all that. Just get rid of it. But mining tax can be another issue. And that leaves me on to saying we here at the Webb Zone would like to hear from you. We want to base this show purely on your suggestions of issues, whether it be gay marriage, WA separating, free market, whatever it is. Here's the link right now for the Facebook page. And go to that, you can blog on it, I don't know, put on the wall, whatever you want. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the first episode of the Webb Zone. We'll try to get back to you fortnightly on issues. I'll try hardest for a week, but I promise every fortnight we'll get an episode going. So I will leave you tonight with a quote. For a man's country, you must be proud. For if you are not proud of the country, you are the enemy, and an enemy to its way of life, and therefore not a citizen. Thank you very much for watching the Webb Zone. Hope you enjoyed. Here's the shout outs for the day. Jono, I know you've been looking forward to the Web Zone. I hope you enjoyed it. To my physics class, everyone in there, I'm just doing this quick. Shout out to you guys, and a special shout out to my 3A 3B politics class. Hope you guys enjoy this, learn something proper. Jack, I'm talking to you. And just to the boys at the Kent Street Nationalist Party. That's it. And wait, just all my mates, I want to give you a shout out, but just haven't got time. First episode and all. Alright, catch you later.